I've been wanting to share some of the footage from the Willie Nelson concert, so I figure I'm just going to make it a story time and tell you how Willie Nelson introduced me to my best friend.
There's a cat sound. Then you got the cat video. I know I love you. I know I love you. That's all I know I love you. I know I love you. I love you.
I just want to give a shout out to my Amazeballs friend Sarah, who went with me to the show. She has some good things to say.
We live in a world where more people than ever are on SSRIs, yet the mental health issues don't seem to be getting better. In fact, they seem to be getting worse. It's become very clear to me that we don't have as much of a mental health issue, but a pharmaceutical one. Cannabis is a prime example of a natural drug that is shown to boost the 2-AG molecule in the brain, which controls serotonin levels. My friend Aviva Vivazella is a cannabis activist here in Georgia and my general go-to expert on the topic. Here's what she had to say.
There are many health benefits to cannabis being suppressed or neglected by corporate greed.
This is my close friend, artist Michael M., hard at work in his California ministry, helping people with religious cannabis care, pictured here with music maker Danny Amaya. Michael Myers has been a cannabis activist longer than most of you have been alive, and he's been one of my best friends for about 10 years. He has been my go-to expert on the topic since we met, because of Willie Nelson. So how is Willie to blame for me being so lucky to be friends with Michael? It was this interview Michael produced in 1991 as part of a 10-part hemp education series for the world that I saw.
Most people that I talked to had no idea, just like me, that hemp and marijuana was the same thing. We were ignorant of that fact. Also, we were ignorant of the fact that hemp could be used as food. It can be used as clothing. The first Levi's in this country were made from hemp. The first Bibles, the Declaration of Independence, the first 2 copies of this was printed on hemp paper. People don't know that.
There's quite a lot of education in this video, which blew my mind, and I wanted to blow others' minds. I wanted to share these words, so I looked up and called the producer, artist Michael M. The video I found was a lot lower res than this, and I wanted access to a higher quality file like this one.
I was born in a farm community, in a farm town. A lot of my friends are farmers. I started hearing about the farmers' problems. I heard these horror stories about farmers getting foreclosed on and losing their farms, and bankers who were once friendly, now unfriendly. Farmers all over this country had been losing their farms at the rate of 1 million a year.
With Farm Aid coming up, we see how Willie really puts his support and concern into action to save our soil, right? Well, he even mentions later in this interview how the long roots of hemp really help to keep the soil in the ground. I'll link the video below so you can hear the whole thing. Farm Aid is actually this Saturday, September 24th.
At one time there was 8 million working farmers in this country, American family farmers. Now we're down to probably less than 2 million. It's the old story of the big ones eating the little ones. The big corporations, they're running the small farmer off the land, and when that happens, the farm town closes down. The first thing, the hospitals and the schools go, and then what happens is all these people are now unemployed. They move on to the next big city, which causes the same kind of problems in that city. I think that all the homelessness, alcoholism, insanity, all these things that we experience, unemployment in our country, can be traced back to the first time that the first American farmer was forced off his land when he was unable to make a living off of 100 to 200 acres of land. And the reason for it is because they have demanded or made it necessary that he raise a crop below what it costs him to raise it.
Sound familiar, Georgia, with our high processing hemp fees? Watch Hempdemic if you don't know what I'm talking about. Though we can maybe trace the heritage of such issues back in time, I do recognize that's not exactly always the issue with today's issues, but just imagine that, healing all kinds of behavioral, depression, financial, shelter, and anxiety issues by honoring farmers and healthy crops, by returning our connection to Earth. The answer just might not be in a pill, you see? So, in medical Qigong theories, greed causes all disease, so in that sense it's not too far off that corporate greed can cause a lot of mental and survival issues. Anyway, you could imagine how scared I was calling a producer connected to celebrities. Why would he talk to me? Or wait, is that just corporate greed making me scared? Anyway, long story short, I was greeted with the voice of a loving, well-versed actor. I mean, his voice sounded familiar and strong and talented and caring. It's hard to describe. So we got to talking, and he ended up sharing stories about cannabis that amounted to, I want to say, a 3-hour conversation full of profound depth, giggles, so much education. I was scribbling down notes, and just, I had the best feeling after talking to him. He talked a lot about different art creations alluding to the cannabis suppression and the cannabis story, including Popeye. He said that when he was a kid, he kind of like sat between the chairs and watched his dad play in the symphony, and he would hear them saying, "Hey, can you pass me some spinach? Do you have any spinach?" So spinach was actually a word for weed back in the day, and that could be one of the metaphors with Popeye. I'll go into that in another time because, yeah, it gets really deep. He then called me with his enthusiastic laughter and booming voice after listening to some of my music, and he became one of my biggest supporters in my music and just one of my best friends. It was several years later in 2016, after working a couple of years on the arrangement with various instrumentalists and engineers, that I finally had something to play for him with snippets from Michael's show.
Can hemp really save the planet? If it can, why is it kept such a secret from us?
Michael's booming actor voice was a prize to all of our ears, but after deciding to retire from a successful acting career and focus all of his efforts on cannabis activism, he preferred to be less of a performer and more behind the scenes. I mean, you know how I am, always wanting people to be in my videos, etc. And I did grab his voice a couple of times when he collaborated with me, but he preferred the invisible role. He said it'd be better and safer if fame came after he died. He often spoke of ancestral art as being interwoven with nature and personal stories. He somewhat recently began sharing his subliminal vision quest art. This expanded on his Hyperview 4D to 3D art, like the upcoming album cover he did for me. So what is Hyperview, you ask? I'll let Michael explain.
We use a 4-dimensional sight to see a 3-dimensional holographic image, viewer free. Let's break on through with Jim. Slowly cross your eyes until the 2 images fuse into 3, and then hold it and notice the one in the middle. Behold the next dimension. That's a hyper image existing in a hyperspace between you and the screen.
Did you do it? Did you cross your eyes and find the Hyperview key of you? Feel free to press pause, explore it. And hey, if you want to go see the Willie Nelson concert with me again, keep on watching.
Just right on the head. Do things to make you think he's right.
Learning infinite amounts of information was obviously the highlight of my friendship with my mentor, Michael, but it grew beyond that. He literally became my closest friend. I'm so grateful I was able to tour to Colorado when he was there and to California so we could connect in person through the years. And sometimes I would honestly call him to just keep me company as I did my dishes, for example. And sometimes we would just sit on the phone in silence together just so I felt like someone else was around. It's something not a lot of people understand the value of, but he would do his graphic design work, I would do my cleaning and whatnot, and occasionally we would talk and giggle, and maybe even giggle about not talking and about giggling. It was just really comforting and beautiful and needed for me, especially those days when you do feel deserted, abandoned, or neglected by so many, not heard, not seen. We all know that feeling, right? We're just overwhelmed with life. He could empathize in a way that I don't know anyone who can. We both experience typical artist feelings that are hard to describe, having to go to great depths to feel certain truths, and cherishing our needed solitude, but also sometimes being panged by it too. It's about putting everything into and making your work your relationship, and it's not normal, but it creates different needs. And of course, I'd call the night before testifying for cannabis at the Capitol and practice my testimony and often change it from his feedback. And of course, if I expressed any hesitation, he'd say, "No! You got this, cannabis needs you." Of course, he'd also say, "I understand how hard it is. It's an amazing feeling to have friends who defend and protect us, don't you think?" Sometimes he would just pick up the phone, especially on his last days, and he would say, "I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you, but I really can't talk." A lot of people say you can call anytime, but it helps when you have friends in California when you really need to talk to at 1 a.m. or just want someone to call to feel safer when you're unloading your equipment at midnight. I wish I could call him right now to talk about my pain, about him not being around anymore.
They better give you a song, and that was a gold. All started up with an old faded Levi's, and each night begins a new day. We'll never stay home, and they're always gone. He was someday like
As I'm leaving Willie, there's a grasshopper on my car. Grasshopper, hopper, hopper, grasshopper, hopper, hop, hop. As I'm leaving Willie, there is a grasshopper. Grasshopper, doo doo. Are you a sign that I'll find a missing piece that I need for my journey ahead? Are you a sign of luck so all unstuck? What all amuck? What was stuck so that I can be my best, 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 best? Speaking of stuck energy, being suppressed on the interweb sucks. Not that I'm a conspiracy theorist or anything, but I gave Particlekid, aka Michael Nelson, some love on his Facebook page after he rocked the show with a couple of the songs he wrote. And then Facebook police said my post went against community standards. Look, I wrote fun. And what else did I write? I wanted to buy your CD, but they wouldn't take cash. Oh, that was another annoying thing about the whole concert is like, I had to use a phone for the ticket. That was so annoying. And then like literally my credit card got hacked that morning. So I went to the bank and I took a bunch of cash out and they were taking credit card only. So like people, Ticketmaster people, whoever you are, like maybe you should take cash because maybe people's credit cards gets hacked and stuff.
Everything is bullshit. Everything is bullshit. Bullshit. Everything is bullshit. Everything is bullshit. There's no light, I can't see. Everything is bullshit. Now I get the crowd going. Everything is bullshit. Everything is bullshit.
I think it's easy for us to think of death as failing, but what if it is graduating? And how are we to know?
If I die when I'm high, I'll be halfway to heaven, or I might have a long way to fall.